Hello, everybody, and this is B. Batista with another tutorial. Today, we want to create a range firing weapon, and in this case, we are going to be doing a bow, but this can apply to any type of weapon, such as a gun, pistol, crossbow, whatever you want to create. So before we get into this, we want to make sure that, of course, we create our weapon and that you already know how to do that. If you do not know how to create your weapon, there is a tutorial on the forums on how to equip weapons and make sure that you have them on your character through Atavism. So you may want to refer to that. I'm not going to go into details with this. This is basically on how to make them work. Alright, the first two things that you're going to need to make. You're going to need to make two coordinating effects. And I'll explain why you need the coordinating effect. What I did was I copied the fireball effect twice, and I created two coordinating effects, one called bow attack start and bow attack finish. Now, the reason why there are two coordinating effects with a bow specifically, and again, this is just user's choice, but with a bow, I want to be able to pull my bow, I want to be able to pull the arrow or the string back with a knocked arrow, and then I delay. That's one coordinating effect. Then the next coordinating effect is the release of the arrow hitting the target, and of course it making a sound, a hit sound. Okay, so we'll start with the bow attack start. Over here in the inspector, basically you want the bow attack start to be from the caster. There is no activation delay. The duration I have is 1.5. We want to make sure it's destroyed when finished. The animation name is, I called it bow attack, but we'll get into the animation in just a minute. The animation length is 1. This is my sound clip, and my sound clip is for pulling the string back sound. Okay. Sound clip 3D, it's all defaulted as checked, so I left it as is. The sound volume is 1 here. I'm going to change mine to 5 because I like a little bit of sound coming out. There is no sound delay. We're not going to loop the sound. We're not going to repeat it. The slot where it comes from, this should be from the main hand. Okay. And of course, if you want to play a particle delay, in this case I don't have anything. The loop particles I'm not doing, of course. Particle repeat 0, attach particle. So I'm not doing any of the particles. Interrupt when move. I want to do that as well. So you can. Well, no, I'm not going to do that because in my case you can actually move and fire your bow at the same time. So I want to continue with the animation if the character moves. Alright, so make sure that this is a coordinating animation script. That's what you have to have on your first one. On your second one, the bow attack finish, you need a coordinating projectile effect. Okay? Now this is what happens after the arrow is released. Okay, so we want to make that the target, what you're shooting at. You want to make the activation delay at least 1 second. Now you can play around with that, and the reason being is because you don't want to set this to 0 because this is going to fire the same time as your bow attack start is. So you want to make sure that the bow attack coordinating effect, the bow attack start starts first. 1 second after that, this will start. In my case, 1 second is perfect. The duration, I put it at 1.5, which is a default. Destroyed when finished. The caster slot is the main hand. That's where the actual arrow is going to fly from. My projectile object. Now this can be anything that you want. You guys can make a bullet. You could make a projectile such as like a spell effect or something like that. Anything you want in here for the object. Mine is a simple arrow. It's a model of an arrow. That's all it is. Now, the only downside with doing mine this way is because sometimes it looks really funky. The arrow is flying sideways. I haven't found a complete resolution to that, but again, it's still a good effect. If you want a projectile particle to follow the arrow, you can have that. I don't have nothing like that right now. The projectile sound. What sound does it make once the arrow is in air? Mine, I have like a whizzing sound. So there's an arrow pass sound that I have. We want to keep the sound clip at 3D. I put my sound volume at 10 because I really want to hear it. The speed of the actual projectile. Mine is set at 50. Play around with the speeds depending on how fast you want that projectile to go. The target slot. I always pick the head, the chest, whatever. The hit slot, where it's actually going to hit. I put head. Now, the hit particle is kind of cool because there's plenty of effects out there like blood, the blood effects. You can use that in hit particle. You could make, I don't know, like a fire particle when it hits. So it's whatever you want to do. In my case, I didn't put a hit particle, but later on I will be putting blood effects there. Hit sound. This is what the sound makes when it actually hits a mob. In my case, I use an arrow hit flesh sound. You guys can find these sounds all over the internet. Create your own sounds, whatever the case you want to be. I personally bought a package that had medieval sounds, weapon sounds, and that's what I use here. The hit sound clip you want to leave checked. Hit sound volume. I'm going to put mine up to 5 because I really want to hear that to give it a little effect. Alright, so we're done with the coordinating effects. Next, the next thing you need to do. In your bow attack start coordinating effect, you have the animation called bow attack. Okay? You need to go into your animator. And I've pre-done all this stuff just to make sure it works. It's nothing more worse than trying to put a video together and trying to make something work or show how to do something and then you run into a problem. So I pre-done everything. Alright, so what we do here is you want to create a boolean, and you want to call it bow attack. Make sure that anytime you use this boolean, that you are using the correct caps on this because it's very specific. So in my case, I'm using bow attack, capital B, the rest is lowercase. Okay, if you screw up and like put it in the coordinating effect as a small b, all lowercase, it's not going to work. It's not going to recognize it. So make sure you do that. After you create your boolean, you're going to go over here, and of course you're going to right click and you're going to create a new state, which I've already done. And then you want to call it bow attack, which I specifically made sure that it's correctly spelled correctly and it has the correct capitalizations and so forth. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to make a couple transitions. You want to make transitions to your idle and from your idle back to bow attack. You want to make transitions to your run blend tree, and from your run blend tree back to bow attack. And you want to make transitions from bow attack to combat idle. On every one of your transitions, make sure you hit the little arrows on each of them and click off has exit time. Okay, so the next thing you need to do is you need to start making sure that you click on your conditions for each and every one of your idles, your run blend, and your combat idle. From your idle to bow attack, you need bow attack is true. From your bow attack to your idle, you want to make sure that it says bow attack is false. From your bow attack to your run, you want to make sure the speed is greater than 0.01. And from your run blend tree back to bow attack, you want to make sure that it says less than 0.01. That way, when you have your bow, you can actually run with your bow. Okay, it doesn't look weird. The bow attack to combat idle, a little different on this one. From bow attack to combat idle, you want to make sure that its combat is true and bow attack is false. And from combat to bow attack, just bow attack is true. Okay, now let me explain this. Bow attack to combat idle. Your player is actually still in combat, so you want to go into combat idle. Okay, you don't want to go back into idle. Alright, so your player is actually in combat, but he's not firing his bow. That's the reason why you need two here. Now, I could have done this a different way, and I could have made a create sub-state machine to do this. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to do it this way. This is the easiest way instead of going in and explaining about sub-state machines. And I do have a video about sub-state machines you can refer to. Same thing if you do the sub-state machine. Okay. All right. Now that we've got our animation, we go into our coordinating effect under resources here, and back into the bow attack start. Make sure you have bow attack in there. It's correctly spelled. Okay. All right. So now you've got your coordinating effects ready. The next thing you need to do is you need to go into Atavism Online. And you log in. Alright. Go down to Combat. The very first thing you need to do in this is you need to load your coordinating effects. Okay? You want to put your bow attack start. Drag your coordinating effect right in there. Hit save. And your bow attack finish, same thing, drag it in there, hit save. The next thing you need to do, and you're just kind of going in order here, so you're going to go to your effect. And we want to make a damage effect, which I've already made. Now, personally, I called mine bow attack damage. Okay? The effect is exactly that. It tells the program what kind of damage it is. So in my case, I'm putting a melee strike effect. You can make it a physical dot, you can make it a magical dot, or you can make it flat damage. Okay? I personally put melee strike effect. What does it damage? Well, it damages the health. Damage type. You can change these damage types, but I clearly put pierce. The damage amount. This is actually what the damage of the effect does. So I'm putting in 10 with a modifier of 2. The rest of this stuff you don't need, with the exception of the skill type, and you won't be able to put this in yet until you make the skill, so you'll have to come back to it. But just keep in mind your skill type is archery or whatever skill you want to use. The skill modifier is 2. The reason why I put 2 is because the better the player gets in archery, the more damage he's going to do. If you leave it at 1, I don't think it does anything. So I put it as skill modification 2. You can put it in whatever. You can put it at 3, 4, 5. You can play with the damage. So that's the reason why I do this. So the player gets better at archery, he's going to do more damage. Okay? No bonus effect. Of course, you want to hit save data. You go to do abilities. The abilities tells it tells, hold on one second here, let me just drop down to the ability. The ability tells what type of ability it is that the player is going to use to shoot that bow. In this case, mine is called ranged attack. Okay. So I put the name range attack. The ability type is combat melee ability. The skill, again, you're going to, when you get to this part, you're not going to be able to choose it because you haven't been to the skill section to make archery. But you'll have to go back after you make the skill and put that in. Make sure you do that, because if you don't, what happens is the player will use the abilities and will not gain in the skill. So again, mine I put as archery. Activation requirements. What do you need to actually use the ability? Okay, so I left everything as default, with the exception in this case, I make sure I'm using ammo, which is one piece of ammo, a weapon, which is a bow in this case, the maximum range. In my case, with my bow, I put at 35 steps away, or 35 blocks away. The minimum range is 0. You could put 1, forcing the player to have to back up 1 step in order to shoot the bow. Okay. In my case, I just left it as 0. I don't care if a player shoots right at the target. Does it require a target? Yes, it does. Target type, enemy, of course. Target state, it must be alive before it can shoot the bow at it. Okay. Species target, I leave that as none. Cooldown, very important. I put a cooldown of 2 seconds. All I did was just name it 2 seconds and put 2. Reason why is because you don't want them to rapid fire or whatever it is. Now, if you want a rapid fire, leave this blank. Alright, so the effects. It's the target, and the attack effect is the bow attack damage that we made. Then go on down, and the coordinating effect, you want to make sure that's activating. The coordinating effect 1 is bow attack start. Coordinating effect 2, which is completed, is bow attack finish. Okay, and one thing, I hope that the developers of Atavism will add more coordinating effects, because we have so many here that we could actually use. So I'm hoping in the future that they will add some more of these coordinating effects. That would be really nice. Okay, so let's go to skill. We need to make a skill for our for our bow, so our characters can excel in that skill. So what I've done is I made archery, put the name archery, max level is 1. It can go all the way up to whatever. Skill point cost, I haven't put that in yet, but it should be 1. Automatically learn. In this case, in this tutorial, I'm making sure that I have this checked. In my game, you don't automatically learn anything. You actually have to read books in order to gain a skill or learn a skill. But in this tutorial, we're going to make them automatically learn. Choose a random icon. Skill class, you know, if you've got, let's say, archer skills or archer class in the game, you could change that to make it one type of players that can only use their abilities. Opposite class, I'm not exactly sure why that's even here, but I don't know. You can also tag it as only this class as well that can use these abilities or skills. Primary stat for the skill, I made it as dexterity. You can add as many as you want. I only added 1 that you need, you know, a decent amount of a dexterity for the stat. And also keep in mind, when you're using your skills, this specific skill, it has a chance to raise that stat. Okay. Requirements. Are there any requirements in this skill? This is good for if you have like subsections of certain types of archery skills. So if you want an improved aimed skill, you can make sure that they have, you know, the first type of archery. or so forth for that skill. Skill abilities, the skill level is I set as 0 for the ranged attack ability. Make sure you put the ranged attack because you got to have that under the skill, and it's automatically learned. Next thing you need to do is hit character, go down to your player character setup, and on this case I only have warrior and mage, and I only put it on my warrior. And you scroll to the bottom and you just add the skill archery. Make sure you save. And then the last thing that you need to do is you need to make your ammo. So we'll go to items. It takes a little bit to load this because I am on the cloud. And you're going to create ammo. You're going to click that ammo button down there. And mine's already created, but I will show you what it looks like. You're going to put your name of your ammo. In this case, mine is called blunt light arrows, because my game you'll actually have different types of arrows, and you can make these arrows with materials. So the item type is ammo, of course. The ammo type is arrow. The damage is 15. And you can make the damage whatever you want. Item quality, binding, that's all default. Currency, can you buy these arrows? In my game, no, you can't buy these arrows. You actually have to make them. Stack limit 1,000. My tooltip is whatever the arrow is. You know, this is just really basic stuff here. Okay. So once you have created that, you want to hit save. When you go back into the abilities, and of course when you're setting your let me see if I can find it here. Okay. Okay, when you're setting everything up, you in your abilities, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that your bow is set in here, and your ammo is used as 1. That way, when you have your arrows, they're going to be taking away. All right, so we're good to go here. At this point, you want to save everything. You want to restart your cloud or your game at this point. If you followed very closely, you should be right where I'm at, and I'm going to log into my game and kind of show you what we have done. And there's my character with my bow. Don't judge me, she don't have no clothes on. Okay. I got my city guard there. I can't attack him. But I have a bush pig right here. So we're gonna click on my bush pig. Now as you see when you log in, make sure you make a new character when you do all this. Okay? That way your icon appears. But I have my ranged attack here. It's on the second slot. I have got my enemy bush pig, and there we go. And I'm going to run because he's hitting me. I don't like that. Now you see, I don't know if you noticed that the arrows are kind of sideways. Another good thing, and I'm going to show you in just a minute here, another good thing is a lot of times when I'm testing, I will make a mob or one of these mobs here. And in this case, I called this one archery target. Basically what I've done here is I just created a mob. I set the movement speed to 0 to where it cannot move, and maxed his hit points way up there. He's like level 50. And if I just want to test my animations, I can. See if I can turn it around a little bit so you guys can see what's going on here. See how the arrow is like pointing upward? I don't know exactly how to fix that. I wish I could figure it out, but it's working. Alright guys, that's it. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to comment. But that's how you make a weapon that shoots. Look, I'm doing damage. We'll see you next time.